This could never be you, right? Waking up to big news unfolding that is impacting your home while you're miles away is not normal. I mean, we live in a pretty comfortable society. We don't have outside forces attacking our homeland, we don't have constant wars, and for the most part, safety of ourselves, our family, and our friends is not a huge concern. But put yourself in this scenario. Your hometown is in chaos while the people you love are stuck in a sticky situation. You have two options: stay where you're at because you're safe, or go home and be of assistance to those around you. You choose the latter, but you know you have a limited amount of time to get home and should only be reliant on your own supplies as you are traveling into the unknown. You take your self-reliant vehicle and prepare it for the trip home. Welcome to the world of Light Sustainment Vehicles. So the question becomes, what is a sustainment vehicle? And to answer that, we have to talk about sustainment. And sustainment is the support or maintenance of something or somebody. And how that pertains to humans is keeping us alive and healthy and well in order to be able to do the normal things. And what I want to talk about today is light sustainment vehicles. And I'm going to get into kind of what that looks like later in the video. But I want to discuss the why. Why is this even a topic? Why does it matter? You know, I'm a typical overlander, so why do we have to talk about sustaining ourselves and keeping ourselves alive? And as overlanders, we obviously carry everything we need to live off of in our vehicles for overlanding purposes. But I want to also kind of tie this to normal living and building a vehicle that can kind of get you home when you need to get home in certain situations. And I'm talking about chaos. If there's certain chaos in your area or chaos that's coming, you want to be able to get home safely. And what a light sustainment vehicle looks like is essentially having a vehicle that's functional and reliable, along with having the basic supplies as far as food, water, fuel, and self-defense in order to get you home. But first I want to discuss why I'm even bringing this up. And I know what you're thinking. You're listening to a dude with a small car, truck thing tell you that you should have a light sustainment vehicle, right? It kind of looks dumb. Obviously, this vehicle can't tackle every obstacle in existence. Yes, it's not doing crazy rocks, it's not doing deep mud, but it's getting you off the main path, gravel roads, dirt roads, whatever. And when something pops off and you need to get home, it might not even be chaos, but some sort of emergency, you need a vehicle that can get you home, but also have supplies in it that can help you survive. So let's say something happens to your vehicle, you can survive off of food that you have stored, or you have water that you can store in your vehicle. So the goal is not to find the craziest trail and be like, okay, I'm gonna go on this trail and camp out and do my thing. No. The goal of the light sustainment rig is to get home. And that's exactly what this thing is. It just carries enough for me to get home. It's nothing more, nothing less. So the question becomes, why would you want to get home? You're probably in a safe spot, you're camping, you're probably surviving very well, living comfortably. But if some event was to happen, you'd want to get home to your family and your community. And that's ultimately how you would survive an event. I'm not going to give you tips on how to survive, right? I'm not that smart. But I will say, having people around you who you trust and love, you're going to want to protect them. You're going to want to be able to build a community of people who can just help each other out and make it through whatever situation is happening. And I've always thought the whole bug out mentality wasn't that smart, because that's only helping yourself, and helping yourself is not going to help the people you love. So I always thought, you know, bugging out isn't really the answer, but obviously you want to be out and learning how to survive in the woods and all that, but you can bring that to wherever you're at in your life and location wise. And I will say, dying alone in the woods doesn't sound like a very exciting experience. And along with that, let's say something happens in a city, I would venture to say that people would probably move towards the more suburban and rural areas. And so either way, you're gonna run into people in the woods, and the woods is not like a super safe spot. So just having a vehicle that can get you out of there and get you home is incredibly important. Now, how do you set up your vehicle to be sustainable? And that's exactly what we're going to talk about right now. Now, I did do a video on the Baja about, I'd say 2 months ago, doing a full overview, so we're not going to talk about that right now. I'm just going to talk about a few key components on the build. And the most important thing to have in your vehicle is food and water. And I'm just gonna quickly go over my setup. Now, obviously, if you're just daily driving your vehicle, you don't need to have a full deck with like bins full of food. I'm just talking if I'm traveling an hour to 3 hours or whatever, I'm gonna have a certain amount of food and water on me to, let's say, last me a day or two outside of my normal trip range. Now, when we're talking food, I have 2 bins I normally have in here for my camping adventures or for an overnighter or whatever. I have a cooking bin, which I just pulled out there, and also the food bin. So typically this bin is just full of food that I need for my trip. And also whenever I'm going, like let's say over an hour from my home, I always like to carry a 3-day meal kit. So essentially this is a 72-hour meal kit from Ready Hour, and it just gets you 2,000 calories a day just with freeze-dried meals. It's pretty simple, it's pretty light, it's nothing crazy. You probably think it's a little overkill, and maybe it is, but I always like to have extra food on me. So that's kind of what that's for. I will typically also have my normal gas grill for camping, so that's what I use to cook. Now, occasionally I will bring this little kit. This is what I use for backpacking. It has 2 little pots and a little burner, and you can just boil water, and that's perfect for these meals. So if I need that, I have that. And besides the emergency aspect, it's also nice to have in case you decide to stay another night, or maybe you don't like the food that you selected for that weekend, you have a backup food item. So it isn't just for emergencies, because other people can use it. It's just really nice to have extra things when you're traveling. And along with that, I always have a 2-gallon Rota pack of water. So now I will have more if I'm on a bigger trip, but I will usually have water with me. So that's where I get my water. But let's say I run out of water, I do have something for that. And this is where my bag will come in. I take this with me everywhere on all my adventures. So essentially, this is just my daily carry bag. I bring office supplies, whatever I need for work in it. And again, if I'm going over an hour away from home, I bring a few things with me that I think are important. Now, the first one, like I was talking about with water, if you run out of water, you need a way to get water. And here I have a life straw. And I also sometimes bring iodine tablets because I've used those in the past. But something to filter your water is important, because I have been backpacking before where I've gotten bad water and I've gotten sick for a week. So that is not fun. So I always bring a life straw just in case I run out of water. I can get clean water, not be sick all the time. Now, along with my normal camp supplies, I have a flashlight, I have a headlamp, and I have a torch. I use those all the time, pretty standard, nothing special about them. And one thing I never forget is my medical kit. I have that in this bag, and I also have like space blankets or thermal blankets. It's this little thin blanket that it kind of keeps all your heat too close to your body if you're wrapped around you. I've used it once to test it. They're not reusable, but I have 4 small ones in there. And if you do use them, they are kind of loud. So just a heads up, if you're in your tent and you move a lot in your sleep, they are extremely loud. So your friends might get mad at you if you're camping with them. But besides all the other random crap I have in this bag, there is one important thing I bring, which when we're talking about sustainability vehicles, and if there's an emergency, this may not be a thing that you can use, but it is important to have for your safety, for your friends and family, whatever, to kind of know where you're at. So I use a Zoleo. This thing essentially sends a satellite signal to whoever I have on the app and whoever I have in the program, and they can see where I'm at. Every hour they get an update, and I can also check in. And if I need to, I can text them through the app. Now, I believe a 25 text limit every month on this. You can extend that, but I just have the lower version, and I haven't really needed to use it, but it is nice. Because of my solo trip, I wanted people to know where I was, just so they could see I was moving around and I was doing different things and not just staying in one place and gone. And there also is an SOS feature, so if you push this button and hold it in, it will alert search and rescue in the area. So I don't know what that looks like, to be honest, but I've heard it works very well. I'm not gonna test it out. Now, the last personal item that you should have with you is self-defense, so a gun of some sort. In the outdoor community, there's a lot of people who are actually anti-gun, which is strange. You should have a gun for animals, but also 2-legged creatures who have bad intentions. I'm gonna leave it at that. Now, I also want to talk fuel real quick. So you can see here I have a 2-gallon Rota pack. I can fit more in here. I can fit 2 Rota packs, that's 4 gallons. I never really need it. Essentially, I do this because if something happens, if there's chaos, the first thing that's probably going to be overloaded is gas stations. There's going to be people trying to get fuel so they can get home or so they can stock up at home. So I always have fuel on me just so I can get home. Now, will it be enough for, depending on where I'm at? maybe not. And that's where I'll have to figure some other things out. So yes, these things aren't foolproof, but it does help you in the long run. And you can also see here, I do have lights on right now. That's essentially running off my battery setup. This is not a needed thing for a sustainable vehicle. It's just a nice thing to have when camping. So I don't want people to think that they have to take their, let's say, daily vehicle and make it this very sustainable rig. You don't have to do that. I'd always go with the basics: food, water, and self-defense. And again, if we're talking about your daily vehicle, this is something you might not want to do, but I do have a 2-inch lift on this Baja, as well as 28-inch tires, so that's about an inch to inch and a half bigger than stock tires. Most stock 4x4 vehicles will be fine, but since this is a Subaru, I want to make sure it can get to, you know, let's just say very light off-road places. So that's what this is for. With the stock height and tires, it probably wouldn't have. And also I wanted more aggressive tires to get me through mud. And again, depending on what vehicle you have, it may not be necessary, but for the Subaru, I thought it probably was a good thing to have in case of emergency. And the last thing I want to add is that nobody's going to come save you. And that's something I'm still trying to work on. I'm trying to build all my skills for the outdoors when I'm camping, because in reality, if you're out camping, you're probably far from home or, you know, in the middle of nowhere. So it is always good to have those survival skills. And I am not an expert at that, right? I'm just getting into this. I'm very new, but I just want to kind of show my thoughts on a sustainable vehicle to keep you alive, keep you healthy if something pops off, and for you to get home safely. If you think I missed anything, put that down in the comments below. Let me know, we can talk about it. And eventually I'll probably make a more in-depth video. This is kind of just an idea I had in my head, and I kind of want to just get it out, get it on video, and see what people think. But other than that, I will see you in the next one.